It's Corey here, back again to talk to you today about Amazon Web Services. So what Amazon Web Services is, or AWS, is a secure cloud services platform offering compute power, database storage, content delivery, and other functionality to basically help businesses scale and grow. What I'm going to be doing today is showing you how to launch a Windows instance from the AWS service. You would just come to your EC2 dashboard here, find Launch Instance, and once it pops up here, we'll find the free tier only, and then we come down to the Windows here, select that. We want the general purpose here, we'll just go with the T2.micro, and then we're going to go ahead and press Launch here. Now it wants you to choose an existing key pair or create a new one. We'll go ahead and create a new one. We'll just call it my key pair 5. Then we'll download that key pair. Now we're going to need this later, so we'll just save it for now. And then we'd launch the instance. Now once you do that, you just find your way back to the EC2, find instances here on the left tab, and this one right here is the one we just instantiated, and it'll take a little while to get up and running, but luckily I already have one up and running here for us. So what you do next is you connect to it, and this is where you need that document. So you go to get password. The key name for this one was myKeyPair2, so you go out and search for that, and it's right here. And then you want to decrypt that, and this is the password you're going to use to log in. So you'd save that somewhere, and then you come into here, and it'll be what you want to use as your password. So luckily, see, I've already memorized that, and you can see here that we are in the Windows Server 2012. Now, I just wanted to show that you could get your LAMP architecture up and running, so I already have it up here. You could add another name, which I'm on the page right now, delete a record. I already have a couple records in there, and you could also show names in a database. Now, a problem I encountered was that I couldn't get this to show up outside of this server. So what I needed to do was, needed to come in here, find the one that was running, go to the security group for it, and then we'd come down here to the inbound, and we needed to go ahead and edit and add these two rules in here, the HTTP, the port 80, and the HTTPS port 443. Now we went ahead and saved that. Then I also went into the firewall for this server, and I created an inbound rule for port 80 and 443 here. You can see that it's allowing the connection from those specific ports, 80 and 443. And what I found when I did this was I could go out using this public IP address here, 52.89.221, 52.89.221.202, and then I have it stored under AWS, and we'll just go with that date time. You can see that I have all the information here. Current timestamp here, 8:04. You can see that that's the correct time. It has the public IP and the public DNS here. Next, I'd like to talk to you about a couple companies in the industry that I personally use that also utilize AWS. Netflix, it's able to deploy thousands of servers and terabytes of storage within minutes thanks to AWS. Netflix has tens of thousands of instances running across 3 different regions in AWS. They serve hundreds of thousands of requests per second and serve over 1 billion hours of content per month, all running out of the AWS infrastructure. Also, the Netflix developers can spin up instances to do tests and experiments at any time, which only takes a matter of about a minute or two. And thanks to AWS's ability to expand and shrink its footprint based on the amount of traffic, um, Netflix is really able to utilize that. Next, I'd like to talk to you about Shazam, which is the media discovery company, which utilizes AWS to handle fluctuating capacity requirements. For example, during their Super Bowl advertising campaign, they knew that they would need more capacity. So they looked into AWS for their ability to scale resources to meet sudden activity spikes, such as that of the Super Bowl. By using AWS, Shazam was able to process millions of transactions by adding 200 Amazon EC2 instances, just like we did earlier, and then reducing that number as demand happened to shrink. They were able to provision resources from AWS much faster than they could have provisioned the new hardware or data centers themselves. Next, I'd like to talk to you about pricing. AWS allows pay-as-you-go pricing, which means that you pay for the services on a needed basis. You only pay for the individual services that you need for as long as you need them and without a long-term contract, which cuts down on costs. For example, take your phone bill. Say you paid for 20 gigs of data, but you only used 10. You're wasting half of that money you spent on data for the month. However, with pay-as-you-go, if you only use 10 gigs, you only pay for those 10 gigs. They also use a tiered pricing for their Amazon S3 service, where they take advantage of economies of scale. Basically what happens here is the more you use, the less you are paying per gigabyte. So 1 terabyte per month may cost 3 cents per gigabyte, but if you were to use over 5,000 terabytes per month, the cost would drop to about 2.75 cents per gigabyte. This may not seem like a lot of savings, but it actually does add up quite a bit. Next, I'd like to talk to you about the private versus public. A private cloud is set to a certain IP range, whereas public is open to the world. Now the VPC tells the server what IP range to allow, which would most likely only be you unless you allow someone else to access it. Thanks, and I hope you all enjoyed this short tutorial.